Crews have located the group alive, but now they are facing another challenge, the rescue mission. Officials have been strategizing ways to get all 13 to safety.
They're now giving them a high-protein liquid diet. They're giving them antibiotics. They're trying to get their strength back up because the focus of this operation now shifts to how you actually get them out of the cave.
More heavy rain is expected in Thailand, further complicating efforts to rescue 12 boys and their soccer coach. They were found alive yesterday deep inside a flooded cave 10 days after getting trapped. Getting them out, however, could be even more complicated. Ben Tracy is outside the cave.
Finding the 12 missing boys and their coach was hard enough, but the bigger challenge for this massive international rescue operation may be how to get them out of the cave. Doctors have been brought in to assess which boys may be strong enough to attempt to wear dive masks and swim out of the flooded cavern.
No, not today.
It would be a dangerous attempt. None of the boys know how to swim. They were found in a dry section of the Tham Luang cave complex, at least 2.5 miles from the entrance. The water is 16 feet deep in some places, and they would have to swim through narrow passageways, potentially without oxygen tanks, to escape. Another option is to leave the boys inside until floodwaters recede, but that could take weeks or even months.
This is a Thai-led multinational rescue operation, and what's beautiful here in this next phase is you're seeing everyone coming together, thinking about this problem set. What is the best possible way to get, these kids and the coach out, but what is the safest way?
In the meantime, a phone line is being installed inside the cave so the young soccer players can finally talk to their relieved parents after being separated for more than 10 days. The first thing the boys asked for when they were rescued was food, and they are now being fed a high-protein diet to regain their strength. A Thai Navy SEAL commander says a team of 7, including a doctor, is staying with them.
So this is the area outside of the cave that has become the staging ground for this massive rescue operation. You have a lot of Thai military personnel, and over here we notice they've started staging ambulances for when they decide to bring these kids out of the cave.
An army of first responders and volunteers are still working around the clock, and Thai officials say no expense will be spared to get the boys out safely.
Rescuers here are closely watching the forecast, and unfortunately that forecast is calling for more heavy rain here this weekend. So they may have to accelerate their timeline in terms of getting the boys out of the cave before it floods again.
Everyone's coming together to figure out the next course of action and how to bring them out as safely and as quickly as possible.
With more monsoon rains in the forecast, the clock is ticking for rescuers to hatch a plan. The search teams will have to maneuver through this cave complex. The group was discovered in between the entrance and the main cave. Right now, rescuers are working to the south of where the boys are currently trapped, roughly 2 kilometers inside the cave complex. Jonathan Miller is a reporter with CNN. He is at the command center near the cave complex in northern Thailand, where the boys and their coach are trapped. So, Jonathan, what are some of the options rescue workers are considering right now?
Well, they're pretty desperate options, Andrew. I mean, there's not very many on the table. I think the most prominent one that's being discussed, and they really want to try this one out, is extracting the boys through the tunnels that they came into the cave. The trouble is that these tunnels are submerged, and there's a whole series of different chambers in this cave system linked by these intricate little passageways and tunnels. Some of them go up, some of them go down, they go sideways, and there are angular bits and sharp bends. So it's not an easy process, particularly when you consider that a lot of them are submerged under zero visibility, muddy, coffee-colored water. Now, whether they will attempt this is not clear, but I know that that is what they want to try. The trouble is that these boys were stuck down in this cave for 9 days without any food at all. And although they appear to be in reasonable shape, and the doctors have checked them over today, they will be also in a pretty weakened state. So if they're going to attempt something like that, they've got to let the boys rest up and get a bit of food in them. Problem is, the rain's coming. And there's more rain scheduled for tomorrow. They've had this little window of a few dryish days up here. I mean, I say dryish, but I'm standing in the command and control center here with 4 inches of liquid orange mud around me. Now, this rain is going to get worse and worse and worse as the months go by. 4 months of monsoon. And if they don't get them out now, they could just be stuck in the cave for those 4 months. They will be safe. You know, they'll find a little elevated platform to put them on, they'll feed them, they'll make sure they've got the medical attention and company. But it will be until, you know, probably the end of October before these torrential rains finally stop. And you know, when it rains here, oh my goodness, it's torrential, because it'll flood out that cave system. So, you know, there will be no hope really of getting out if they don't get them out very soon.
Yeah, and that's an awfully long time to be stuck in that cave. But can you tell us, Jonathan, a little bit more about, you mentioned that the boys are in relatively good shape physically. What about mentally and physically overall? How are they doing?
Well, you know, you saw these amazing pictures yesterday of the first divers going into the cavern in which the boys had been stuck for that 9-day period. And, you know, they were incredibly courteous. They were smiling. They said, we're hungry, we want to eat. But, you know, they seem to be okay. Now, on the physical front, that's measurable. I don't know what sort of psychological damage being stuck, you know, in a pitch black cavern for 9 days, not knowing whether you're even going to be rescued, or even if anybody knows you're down there, what damage that might have done to them. But it seems that they're okay. Trouble is that we're not hearing very much about that. I think one of the key things that they're trying to do at the moment is to establish a landline, a telephone comms line down into the cave, so the mums and dads who are staying up here just behind me, in fact, will be able to talk to their sons. I think then we'll be able to get a sense of just what is happening for them and how scared they might be, because it must be a pretty miserable experience they've been through.
We're joined now by Ben Reminence, a rescuer and cave diver who's part of the international team assisting the Thai Navy SEALs. And Ben has been kind enough to pull over to the side of the road for us. He's just come back from being a part of that rescue team. Ben, thank you for being with us. You spent days in those treacherous caves looking for this soccer team. What was your reaction when you first saw the video of them safe and doing relatively well?
Very surprised, obviously, that they are all alive and actually mentally also healthy. We were thinking that they would be in shock by then, but they're actually quite responsive and speaking English to some of the rescuers, and they're just very weak and very skinny and almost unable to walk. So that's what they're working on now, to get them strength and back on their legs.
It's incredible. At the moment you breathe that sigh of relief that they're found, they're there, they're okay. Now we talk about a rescue that is incredibly complicated, and none of these boys swim, as I understand it. Ben, can you talk about how delicate this rescue mission is and what it might take?
You're correct. So they can't swim, so they definitely can't dive. They're looking at different options. The easiest would be that they keep pumping the water out of the cave. They need another 3 or 4 feet, so they can literally float them out with life jackets. But time is not on their side. They're expecting heavy thunderstorms and rain, which might flood the entire cave system, making the rescue impossible at that stage.
So, Ben, let's talk about that scenario. Let's say the rains do come and the cave is flooded. How long can those boys and that coach be expected to be in the cave?
Up to 3 to 4 months, which obviously is not very optimistic. But 2 Thai Navy doctors have volunteered to be locked up inside the cave, which is a huge sacrifice to these people.
Can you talk, I know you know this cave very well. How complex is it? I mean, can you kind of describe what the setup there is? And obviously it flooded. People explore the cave, but shouldn't be there during the rainy season, and it flooded. Is that what happened?
That's correct. It's one of the longest cave systems in Thailand. It's about 10 kilometers long. Sorry about the metric. And they're exactly stuck in the middle of this system, meaning that, yes, it's a huge way to make it through, especially while swimming. And now the conditions are favorable. The water is almost clear and there's just mild currents. But when we first arrived, it was like swimming in coffee and with huge outflow. So our progress was very slow. But in the last days, we progressed more than 1 kilometer. So yes, that's how we got to them in the end.
Subscribe to Right Wing to stay updated.